What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube. Give us a like, share. With your host, Komp and
Planetoid.
Today's film is
Event Horizon 1997.
Event Horizon 1997. A rescue crew investigates a spaceship that disappeared into a black hole and is now returned with someone or something new on board. Directed by Paul W.S. Anderson as Paul Anderson. Written by Philip Eisner. Starring Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, Kathleen Quinlan, and a whole bunch of other people. So, Danny, why did you pick Event Horizon?
Because I have never seen it.
Right.
And I know it's supposed to be like this, classic sci-fi horror sort of thing. So I don't know. People talk about it.
Yeah, they do, actually. They do. A lot of people still talk about this movie. I was aware of this movie, obviously, 1997. I think this is the second film of, not second film, but it was the film right after Mortal Kombat, which I think was 1995, by the same director, Paul W.
He made this directly after that?
Yeah, they offered him to do the first...
I'm surprised that they gave him this film to do after that.
Why is that?
Mortal Kombat's not the best movie from my memory.
That was fun. Mortal Kombat was...
It was fun, but this is like a better movie.
How dare you? How outrageous.
I mean, it's not that bad,
offensive.
But it's not... I don't know.
This is outrageous.
The second one is truly awful.
Yeah, that second one's horrible. The first one was fun. I don't know.
I'm not saying it wasn't fun. It was fun, but this is like a...
cheap. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Mortal Kombat was fun. It was fun.
Mortal Kombat 2 is atrocious.
It was much better than it should be. Because a lot of people go,
Mortal Kombat 1 is like a fun movie.
Right.
But, I mean, this is a good... Like, this was a good movie.
Yes. But I'm saying, like, people will go, what was that fucking movie based on the Silent Hill? That's the watermark of horror films. And I was like, it's alright. I mean, like that. I don't know if you've ever seen Silent Hill.
People have, the movies that mainstream horror people like are usually movies I don't tend to like.
So
I guess that makes me sound like a snob, but it's true.
It's weird because, like... movies that are video game movies are not very good for the most part. Yeah. And this movie does have an inkling of relationship with Doom, and we'll get to that. But anyway, Event Horizon is this film that I was very much aware of.
I guess I never thought about that, actually.
Event Horizon is a film that I was very much aware of in the 1990s. Obviously, I heard about it, but I wasn't really into space movies. I wasn't interested in seeing space movies. I didn't give a shit about space
against space.
A spacist. And I just didn't care. I was like, I wasn't interested. I know it was a horror film, but I really didn't give a fuck. Remember, I didn't see Alien for a long time because I didn't care about it.
Yeah, that's true. That was new to you.
But I watched Aliens, and I liked Aliens a lot. In fact, I think Aliens is still one of the best movies ever. It's still clearly.
I mean, I guess I do think Aliens is better, but Alien is like it's got a thing. Like it's good.
But I've constantly always heard throughout the years that this is a very good film, and to me they're correct because. Yeah. This might be... If this film... Because there was an original 130-minute cut, which is about 2 hours and 10 minutes. Doing the math.
I would love to see that.
They said it was a lot more Hieronymus Bosch influenced hell scenes, but it was too graphic and too gory. And unfortunately...
You think they'll ever release it?
No, they can't because they had a director's cut on VHS, but it was so horribly maintained that they just lost all the footage, which sucks. Come on. I know. Because everything was, I guess clearly must have been shot on film. I don't know when the big push to digital was done, but it was definitely not during this time.
It was, when those horrible Star Wars prequels came out, that was like the first filmed in digital. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but I remember watching that, and like, I'm not kidding when I say this might probably be up there in my top 3 of like space horror films, even above Alien to me. I know that's a hard thing. I know Alien has a lot of beautiful.
I mean, I grew up with Aliens.
I love the first half of Alien before the actual alien shows up. It's the same thing with Prometheus for me. Like, from you know what I mean? Like, you know how the whole exploration and the idea and stuff like that. And I do like stuff explained, but Prometheus, the first half, and the first half of Alien, I fucking love because of the world building and all that shit. And then when the alien comes out, there's no more sort of anything going on.
It's like a monster. It's like a slasher monster movie.
Right. The difference is like, and it's weird because with Aliens, it's the same thing. Like the first half is great, but it managed to keep the second half great also. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know why that is.
We should talk about Event Horizon. I realize we haven't said anything.
But I mean, they're all very incestuous. They're all the same type of film.
I also was thinking about Sphere a little bit, not the movie, but the book.
That. Okay,
the book is great. The movie I don't remember being that good.
And when I say I never seen Spear the book either, it's because I physically have never seen that book anyway. So, Event Horizon, originally the script, I guess it actually had to think it did actually have to do with aliens, but
was it built on a book, based on a book or anything, or no?
No. It was based on a screenplay. And Paul W.S. Anderson said, "Fuck it, like, can we just make it horror influenced?" And they actually brought on who's the fucking guy that made Pinhead and all that shit? Clive Barker.
I don't know. Clive Barker.
Clive Barker came in to actually talk about it with them on set. So it's just
but I didn't notice Sam Neill wearing bondage clothes or anything.
And they did bring up, we have such sights to show you, essentially the same thing that fucking Pinhead.
Yeah, they kind of did, actually.
So, obviously, they cherry-picked from a lot of things. Clearly, they cherry-picked from fucking Doom, like we were saying before.
Well, did Doom exist? Yeah, I guess it did, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
No, Doom was made in the early 90s.
My rough understanding of what Doom is essentially the space patrol, Space Marines fly to hell by mistake or something, which I think this is about. And if you
that's basically the game. You're like a Marine in space,
you're fighting demons. Like, those aren't aliens.
Yeah, but you're fighting your own people too, who
right,
are like
they're mutated and stuff.
Yeah,
which is the movie that Doom should have been. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Doom the movie that came out.
Well, I know they made a new one actually.
Yeah, it looks awful. It looks even worse.
Well, the first one had like The Rock in it.
Yeah, and it had Carl Urban as the lead guy, and Carl Urban's a pretty good actor. You know what I mean? He was Dredd. He was, he's in The Boys. Which show that you should watch. But Doom, they changed the whole fucking hell aspect to make it more science fiction, and it was garbage. It was just it was stupid. Anyway, so back to Event Horizon. Explain
15 minutes in.
Explain the story of Event Horizon.
Okay, so there's a ship called Event Horizon. It's stranded in like near Neptune or some fucking thing, and it basically can hop through black holes to get to different places.
It was a ship that disappeared 7 years earlier, correct?
Yeah, so this like Space Marine crew and the scientists who built the ship are going to the rescue mission to see where they've been for 7 years.
It's interesting because very much so that the introduction of Sam Neill, you think he's the protagonist of the film, but he eventually becomes the bad guy of the movie.
And I guess it's not really him though. Maybe.
At the first 10 minutes, you think he's a
no. I mean that's him, but I'm saying like by the time he's a bad guy, it's kind of like he's like,
It's funny because you automatically know, like you can tell when he's gonna be the bad guy. Like literally, like as soon as like there was one scene, I think what they say like, I saw something. I goes, no, it's not what happened. And I was like, he's the bad guy. Like, I mean, I had known he was the bad guy a long time ago because I had like I probably switched on Sci-Fi.
They did
a
flip. Usually, it's like the scientist like trying to reason with these horrible Marine people.
Yeah, right.
This was the other way around.
Yeah. That's usually how it is. It's like in every like post-apocalyptic or horror film, they'll eventually turn the army people into like savage people, but because they're savages, they know how to use guns, and so you got to really fear them. Sort of like 20.
And there's like a scientist like, listen, we can't do this, and he's holding a gun at him like, you have to.
Yeah. It's usually like 28 days later. Like that whole movie had a whole storyline, and then at the third act, they decided to bring in army guys to be like.
I was glad when they all died, though.
Anyway, so Sam Neill is with always fantastic to see Lawrence Fishburne in a horror film or a genre film. He's very young in this film. Actually, I forgot that I had.
This was like right after he was in Pee-wee or something.
You're obsessed with him being Cowboy Curtis.
I love it.
So there's Lawrence Fishburne as Captain Miller. There's the thing with this film, the characters that are all developed are the ones that are killed, and the ones that aren't live at the end of the film. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, they got a lot into the guy that fixes the ship. I can't think of his name right now.
Cooper is Richard T. Jones. He's an actor that like the guy looks exactly now how he looked back then. Like he's an African American actor. You've probably seen him. Like even if you didn't see.
I feel like I recognized him. He's great.
Yeah, he's in stuff
like I feel like they got into his character, and they definitely got into
the blonde girl. They did not. The blonde girl was like.
Yeah, no, they didn't get into.
She was the one. She's essentially like how Ripley survived in the first Alien, but she came out. She sort of like came out of nowhere to be the main character at the end. She's sort of like this, but even less. Like you don't even know who the fuck she is, and she doesn't fight back. She just starts running. But
she lives.
And it was interesting because they actually left once again. This is one of the rare horror films where they'll let the black guy live at the very end. At least back then in the 90s.
What is he in? I'm looking at him on his IMDb.
Richard T. Jones, Cooper.
Yeah, I definitely like.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He He was in Phone Booth, Collateral. The fucking guy looks exactly the same way. He just does not age. Work in Progress. He's been in the original God.
Oh, he's in that terrible Jury Duty movie.
What was that, with Pauly Shore or something?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yo, I
Did you
watched
see
the
that?
Pauly Shore movie. I watched which one was it? It was Biodome.
Oh, no.
The humor did not age well.
What are these? Should I even
It's
ask
just
what they're saying?
No, it's not like necessarily like offensive or something. It's just like, you know, I don't care so much about that type of shit. It's just more like, oh, it's not even funny. Like, this is such a specific 90s like in-joke sort of humor, like, that nobody would find funny. I can't explain the humor. You got to rewatch it. It's just so stupid.
I've never
It's
seen
not
it.
funny.
I don't plan on watching it. But yeah, you know why?
All those movies are like the same exact thing. I'd watch Encino Man.
Pauly Shore had Encino Man at least has Brendan Fraser, but Pauly Shore was famous essentially because his mother owned a comedic nightclub.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his mother owns a comedy nightclub, so I'm sure that's why he got his foot into Hollywood or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, he's got a thing, but it's not a funny thing.
yeah. So, but even then, when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, he's cool. He's Pauly Shore," but I never saw any of his
Yeah, I
films.
used to love
You know
him
what I mean?
as a
Like,
kid,
I didn't
but
understand.
yeah, he's not funny.
It's sort of like when you watch like Bobcat Goldthwait. You know, when he was in police.
He's doing comedy now.
He actually has talent, but like when he was in Police Academy, like
Yeah.
you know how he did that whole I'm gonna, and I couldn't watch him because I thought he was mentally disabled, and I felt bad for him. I
Well,
really
that's
I guess that's what
honestly
he's
the
doing.
joke.
But I literally couldn't watch him because I started feeling like I had to jump out of my own skin. I felt so bad for him. Like they had the camera on him, and they would have like making fun of him or something. But I didn't realize that was like.
I mean, they were. That was the joke.
But I mean, he was in on it. Anyway.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, Event Horizon, these crew, they don't tell this crew what kind of mission that they are on. Everybody apparently knows that it's the worst space disaster in history, that this Event Horizon, this giant ship, disappeared 7 years. It's been gone for 7 years. So they're there to ping the location of it and salvage what is in the ship because it's just returned. It's just shown up on everybody's maps or whatever. So it's a lot of British actors that are very noticeable, obviously. And Sam Neill's Australian. But Jason Isaacs, who was, the asshole dad of Draco Malfoy, Lucius Malfoy.
That was him? Holy shit.
Yeah, he was the doctor guy, right? And then the other guy, Sean Pertwee, was...
Wow, I kind of felt like I recognized some of these people, but I did not realize that.
And Sean Pertwee, who played the pilot, he was in that really awesome werewolf movie that we saw, the one about the British werewolves. Were they like in the military? Dog soldiers, yeah. Remember, come on,
Dog
if
Soldiers,
you think
Dog
you're
Soldiers.
hard enough. That guy, yeah. And he was also Alfred on the Gotham show, which is probably the only.
Was
best
it Dog
thing on that
Soldiers
show.
you were talking about?
Yeah, I said it, and then you said it, and then you just said it again. So
shut
it's
the
Dog
fuck.
Soldiers. So they're there. Jack Noseworthy is an actor. You know, the guy that got sucked out into space? Like, he's an actor that you would recognize. I don't know from what, but he's been in millions of fucking movies. This film is a lot of people, and
His nose is worthy. That's a great name.
And it's worthy of the cocaine, I guess, that they used to sell in Hollywood.
Hey, he was in Encino Man. That was his,
was he?
one of his first. Yeah, as a skater. He was just some guy.
I know Jolie Richardson. She's the blonde that survived at the end. I know that name. I'm just trying to think of where I've seen her before, but I just know that name. So she's the one that survives at the end. And she has an English accent, so all this time I
Girl
thought
with the
she was
dragon
American.
tattoo.
Was she? Who was she in that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so this crew comes out to space, and the art design on this film is incredible. The production design, it looks like they didn't.
When you consider that this is before all this CGI shit for the most part, it's good.
Yeah, because there is obviously some CGI, but they do pretty well by using mostly, I guess, miniatures. I would assume. I think the ship's CGI. No, I can't. No, the CGI. The ship.
I don't see why it would be. I don't see why
you're
it would
right.
be.
But this is obviously jumping from Mortal Kombat, which is probably a $19 million budget, to I'm sure something that's much more. And this one, especially when you watch Reptile in that first movie, was horrible.
Oh God, it was terrible. But that was because it was the very beginning of CGI.
This is 2 years before, right? But what I understand, there was some CGI. I'm trying to think if there's really any CGI in this one. There has to be CGI with the fire.
There is some, I'm
There's
sure,
definitely some
but
fire CGI, but that might be just transposing fire effects. But I just remembering how something I still couldn't believe to this day in Mortal Kombat is when Shang Tsung tells Reptile to go kill Liu Kang, and
the sculpture turns into
no,
him, right?
it's just that was fine compared to what I'm gonna say right now. Shang Tsung looks away as if Reptile already jumped, and then Reptile jumps. And I remember seeing that in the theater, and that is the one special effect that has bothered me to the end of time. Like, they edited the film. Do you know what I mean? Like, they made the fucking movie, and the CGI person could have him jump at the same time this guy looks, and they still didn't do it. Oh my god. Fix it in Blu-ray just for me. Anyway, so they go off to space. They find the derelict ship. They have to see what the fuck happened. When they get in there, what do they find that raises the cackles or the cockles on their necks?
They find dead people.
Yeah, everybody's like spaghettis. They're like all smashed up into the walls, but not actual. They find one dead body, that floating charred up body that's burnt up.
Yeah.
And then they find they eventually find the log where they recorded. Well, the reason why they actually went in the first place is because they heard a recording of the ship's captain saying "Save us," which they eventually find out is actually saying "Save yourselves from hell." So this is a film that it's about a ship that used its warping ability and actually went to hell from which is, you know, it's kind of
or
funny.
some other dimension that is our idea of hell.
Yeah, right. So it's like Hieronymus Bosch sort of thing where they torture everybody all the time.
See, I would love to see that version. Damn it.
Yeah, and it's funny because the Hellraiser films eventually did this idea with hell.
Oh, but I'm sure they were terrible.
It was awful. From what I saw, it was terrible.
You know what did the best version of hell I've ever seen? It was that
What Dreams May Come with Robin
Williams?
Williams?
That Korean movie we watched about the guy that goes crazy and stabs people, and then after he was stabbed, you know what I'm talking about, and then he films hell. It's like the last minute of the movie. He told me to pause it.
You mean that Japanese movie, you racist shithead?
Is it Japanese? Oh,
yes,
okay.
It is. It's called maybe I'm racist. I can't think of the name of the movie. Give me 1 second. Occult. Oh,
yeah, Occult,
which is I think free on YouTube, which is a very good movie.
But I remember
go watch that movie.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
That's the worst.
It's like the best movie. And then the last minute is the worst thing I've ever seen.
It's like they decided, hey, you know this great movie we just did? Let's make people like. It's almost like you ate the most delicious meal you ever had. And then
somebody took a shit in the last bite.
You're like, boy, that just ruined a lot of what I just experienced. So, I mean, anyway, but Occult is worth watching, but turn it off after the videotape falls in their hand. Don't watch anymore after that scene. Anyway, so they decide to peruse this ship, and they find dead bodies. They find that one charred up body. But then what happens is that the ship begins to fuck with your mind. It's able to read your thoughts and all your worst memories and make them come into fruition. So obviously, Lawrence Fishburne sees a guy who's burning coming out of the floor, and he realizes he's never told anybody, and that was one of his crewmates. I don't know. I guess maybe he was in charge.
I was trying to look up fire in 0G just to see what it would look like. But
just because the way they explained it, right? He said that it looks like it's
it sounded cool
or something like that. I'm sure there's plenty of movies that do
that'd be a cool way to die. If I was gonna die on fire, I'd want it to be in 0G.
I just wanted to. I'm always bothered now that like in space you can't hear sound. Well, I don't know why.
Yeah, but you know what? When you did hear the sounds, it was because there was oxygen.
Oh, okay.
Because how else are they there? You know.
I wish they had given more screen time to the blonde that survived. Like for some reason, I thought that the brunette with the short hair was going to survive because she had the whole subplot about her disabled son back on Earth.
Yeah. I enjoyed her death, though.
Nice. Right, because she had a brutal death. She just fell right through the fucking hole and busted her ass open. But I thought she would survive because she at least had some sort of background, but I guess that was to make her more human. Because the blonde, I didn't really give a fuck. She was just there, you know what I mean? And Cooper at least was serving a purpose by fixing up the ship. But it was nice to see them survive. At least somebody.
He's the only person that's like sane in the whole movie.
Yeah. But they didn't have enough screen time either, though. Maybe Cooper a little bit, because then you have that comedic part when he's blasted off into outer space. But he's smart enough.
No, I thought he was nice.
He was smart. He was smart enough to jet his way back to the ship and then more bullshit happens to him. But what did you think of Sam Neill's performance in this film?
I mean, Sam Neill's always great
He is.
in everything. Like, he really is just consistently great.
I love that part when the pilot was kicking his ass, and Sam Neill like adopts some sort of weird judo stance with his hand. Like he keeps his hand out like he's gonna karate slap the guy or something.
I like how before we started recording this, how I was trying to explain how Hugo Weaving, but I couldn't think of the name of Hugo Weaving. So
now that you're
like,
saying they do look similar.
They have like a weird. I get them confused in my brain. I don't know why.
Hugo Weaving's eyes are very far apart, though.
They are. Like when you look at them side by side, they do not look the same.
No. Sam Neill's a little bit more traditionally handsome.
If you even Google like Hugo Weaving, Sam Neill, like people relate them together. It's very strange.
Is Hugo Weaving Australian? Yeah, I think he is.
Is he?
No, yeah, because he was in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and I think that was an Australian film.
He's British, resident in Australia.
Oh well, same thing. Anyway, so the Sam Neill's great, and then it becomes this sort of. And it's fun to see Sam Neill, an actor of this sort of stature, doing like essentially cheese. It's like cheese, but it's like fun cheese. You don't think it's cheese? It's a little cheesy.
I didn't get any cheese feel from this.
The fact like his eyes are all gouged out, and it's like he came out of like a 9 Inch Nails music video, shit like that. It was very for the times. This is the 90s. I wish they hadn't killed fucking what's his name, Lawrence Fishburne, because he's great in the movie.
But he went out the way he wanted to, so that was good.
Yeah, because they were like, "You see," and he's like, "Yes, I see." No, and he just blew up and stuff like that.
Imagine he pulls out a sword. It cuts to the scene of him fighting on the bus or whatever, like in the Matrix.
He takes the sword and he splits a car in half, even though it had nothing to do with.
That's a great. Those movies. I mean, the first one's amazing. The second and third one, they're not really
so
good. But
some
of the fight scenes in them though are
absolutely
so good.
It was so funny because I love the first one, and then the second one, I was like, I remember I keep telling that story where when the architect comes up and he's talking. And I was looking around. I was like, I don't know what. I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I've never had that happen to me in a movie, really, in that sort of capacity where I'm in a theater not knowing what.
You're listening to it, and it's like you have to be like stoned to understand what he's saying.
But every time I would go to the gym and I run, and they have the Matrix Reloaded on. The car chase scene. The car chase scene is still
it's so good.
It's the greatest car chase scene I've ever seen in a film. And they argue that it might be the best car chase scene ever in a film. But there's
when they're fighting those twin things.
There's probably a lot of
fucking truck. It's so good.
There's probably a lot of car chase, aficionados. Like, no, this car scene because it is.
I mean, I've never seen any of those like XXX movies or the one with like Paul Walker or whatever.
Fatal, Fast and the Furious and that shit.
Yeah, I've never seen any of that shit, so I can't say. But like, as far as like the movies I have seen, this is the best car.
Yeah, spectacle.
Chase scene.
Just spectacle alone was incredible. Anyway. So, he's great in it. Sam Neill's so fucking good. And, what did you think about the merging of science fiction and horror in this case?
I thought it was great. Like, it's definitely way more. It's definitely more of a sci-fi than a horror. But
yeah, the idea that it was like,
I was hoping that this was going to be this movie that I saw as a kid that I've never been able to find again. But
what's it called?
I have no idea.
What happens in it?
There's just one scene I remember. Actually, there's two movies, and I think I'm getting them confused. In one of them, there's like this room that has like a water drip, and people keep going in it alone, and like something happens to them. Like I don't remember. And then at the end of the movie, you see the
cube
room
or something.
No, like they go in and they get like hallucinating and shit. So it's like kind of the same idea. And then they go in at the end, and the room is filled. Like that one drop made the room fill up to the top with water. And like that's like the ending, like the evil is in there or something. I don't know. If anyone knows this, please tell me. And then the other one, there's some scientists, and all of a sudden the guy's neck starts growing like a giraffe, and like it's like a 20-foot tall neck. And I think that's the same movie with the drip thing, where this guy starts peeling off his skin, and he just has so many layers of skin, and he just keeps peeling them off his head over and over and over, like 20 times.
What the fuck were you watching as a kid?
My dad used to watch horror movies with me. I grew up watching horror movies like as earlier than I could ever remember. Like,
Jeez, that sounds awful. Not like awful in a bad way. It just sounds disturbing. Like it's more disturbing.
Well, I mean, it didn't scare me. The only movie that ever scared me was actually Salem's Lot.
Oh, was it? It was that whole scene with the kid flying outside of the window?
No, like the first time it shows the vampire, I was terrified. Like I remember running out of the room, and then I came back and I watched it again.
Anyway, so I really like. I think that it was a perfect balance of horror and science fiction in here. I wish there was more horror in it.
Just
I wish
went
there
on a
was.
whole rant.
I wish there was more graphic horror in the film itself. I'm upset that the company pussied out in making them cut those 20 minutes of extra film showing more horror, more gore. Like I won't like say a movie's better because of the gore, but I certainly would have loved.
Well,
to see
if you're
more.
doing a hell scene, it would be cool to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do some Hieronymus Bosch stuff, come on. Like, I want to see that shit in a movie. Like,
yeah,
you
me
won't
too.
see
I
that.
would love
'Cause
that.
They won't show that shit in movies because it's too disturbing for people, or they just won't understand what the fuck it is. Like, I watched this actual show called Bosch, which is like a cop show on Amazon. It's very good. It's with the Black Cloud guy, that guy. I forget his name.
I don't know.
You know, from Lost, one of the two brothers, the main guy.
Okay.
And
Well, you didn't tell me the context. He's a black cloud guy. What the fuck do you mean?
there's one person that was able to turn into a black cloud and Lost, wasn't it? Or am I crazy?
Well, yeah, it's a smoke monster. But I
yes,
mean, I didn't know you were talking about Lost.
Oh, I said Lost. I said Lost.
You
Anyway,
said after.
anyway, but that show had Hieronymus Bosch mentioned before. Stupid shit. Like it was just like, oh, signed Hieronymus Bosch. I'm like, what? I want to see demons and people getting screws up
His
the ass.
signature. They zoom in and there's like little creatures on each letter or something.
But anyway, it sucks that they didn't have that in there, and I wish that there was more character development for the blonde character for me to give a shit.
There probably
Give
was
more-
in the cut.
I wish there was more stuff, as in chasing people around. I thought it was good for what it is, especially the scene with the guy getting sucked out of the space. I'm surprised that he actually survived, which is nice.
Yeah.
He went through one of the worst things in the film, and he actually survived it, but he'll be fucked up, I guess.
I mean, ultimately though, he dies, right? Like
No, he survived. He was on the
Okay.
ship. He was one of the 3 people that survived at the end. Him and the couple.
Oh, right. They found him and said it was in bed.
Yeah, they said, yeah. But, they all survive at the end, and there's that nice little spook out at the end with this guy's face. And the suits look cool,
yeah.
too. Yeah, the space suits.
But I wonder if the whatever's in the ship is in their part of the ship.
That's what I
too.
assume. That's what I assume was the idea for a sequel or something. Because I would have fucking loved to seen that.
Yeah.
I would have loved to seen if but the ship did the ship go to hell? The one that blew up.
Oh no, they blew it up.
It just blew it up. Okay, I thought it was going to. I thought
No, it sucked into the the atmosphere.
Oh, so it blew up, but it
Neptune.
got sucked in anyway, right? But it was blown
Oh,
up.
it got sucked into Neptune or something. I think.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
like
know.
a black hole or something.
Or maybe they sent it to hell and it blew up there. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Interestingly enough, they do a theory in this film that when he explains the paper, with the pen going through the paper where the time folds on itself.
Yeah.
That's it's actually used in the movie Interstellar by Christopher Nolan,
Okay.
where I believe I forget which character it is. I don't know if it's this guy. All right, whatever that actor's name is.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, I think it's him or not. I might be wrong. It might be one of the other characters, but they do the exact same thing. They say this is so and this, and they actually put a pen through the paper and fold it. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like watching. I was like, and then I looked at the trivia, and they essentially used the same. They paraphrased it, so it's essentially the same thing. That they
Okay,
use
I'm
in
reading
this.
the wiki. I didn't hear anything you said. The gravity drive does activate, and it went into the black hole. So it blows up in a black hole or whatever. I don't know.
So they went to hell, but they were blown up in hell. Like it would have been nice to see that, like Lawrence Fishburne survive, and he comes back, and he's like, "You take the hell pill, you get to anyway." What are things that you thought didn't work for this film?
It's really just what you said. You could tell there was supposed to be more.
Yeah.
Like it'll show all these flashes of like bloody stuff, and it's like I want to see more. Like, come on.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I agree with you on that. That's it.
The director Paul W. S. Anderson had to change his name, I think, because there's Paul
Why?
Thomas, because it was Paul Anderson and then Paul Thomas Anderson, the guy who did like the really prestigious like Oscar films like There Will Be Blood and stuff like that. And but he's Paul Thomas.
There should have been more
Anderson,
fight scenes in here too, like
and
kung
Paul
fu
W.
fighting.
And Paul W. S. Anderson. What the fuck kind of name is this? He ended up actually marrying Mila Jovovich, so he's a very
Good for
he's
him.
got good taste. And the thing is, what's interesting is that he made. Oh boy, he made. Oh, wait, let me see this. He made Aliens vs. Predator. Oof. Okay, so he did...
It's like a dumb movie.
He did Mortal Kombat. He did Event Horizon. He did Resident Evil, which is arguably okay film for what it is. It's horrible adaptation of the game, but it's still entertaining in a way. And
I think I was being a little harsh before.
Jim Cameron says it's one of the best movies he's seen.
Really?
I don't know what's up with James Cameron, but that's what he said about that movie. But he's
very strange.
I remember he made Soldier, which a lot of people took a shit on. But here's the thing: like Paul W.S. Anderson had an aesthetic before he started jumping into those fucking Resident Evil movies. Like I think he made 6 of them or 5 of them. No, I think he made 6 of them. Let me see: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so he made 4 out of 5 movies.
5.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, so he made 5 of those films, and but the aesthetics in Event Horizon, and at least to a degree in Mortal Kombat, are really good. I don't know how they are in Soldier, because Soldier I think is a cyberpunk sort of action film, but apparently the novel was so good, and then when people saw the movie,
Death Race
they hated
is supposed to be amazing. I never saw it.
Really? I can't.
Yeah, my friend loved it.
After Aliens vs. Predator, I just was not interested in seeing anything else that he made anymore.
I mean, that's just like a dumb, gimmicky
and
movie.
He fell into that fucking what is his name? Who's the guy who made Star Wars? Who's that asshole?
George Lucas?
George Lucas, when you saw the Star Wars prequels and they looked like you could tell they was shot in one room, the whole movie.
Oh,
that's what the rest of the Resident Evil movies look like. They look like they were all shot in weird 3D rooms, and that's it. And I'm like, I'm not interested in seeing shit like that. But even this, the ending of it, at the very end, after that scary shit, they put a Prodigy song, Funky Shit. And it's just hardcore dance techno, and it's fucking awesome. And oh man, that was great. Rest in peace to the singer from Prodigy who died or by, I don't know if it's drug accident or suicide.
So that was pretty recent, yeah.
Yeah. The guy, I forget his name, but the guy from Firestarter video. Which sucks because that band is actually still good, even though I think it's one guy that makes all the music and everybody else sort of sings on it. Anyway, so he did have, the guy had fucking skills. But I think he made so much money doing the Resident Evil movies that he can just wear a gold hat and just do whatever the fuck he wants. Do you know what I mean? And you have a couple of kids with Mila Jovovich. That's pretty good. So
good for
who
him.
Knows?
She is so hot.
She really is. And it was so funny because I think she was only the first time I think I ever really saw Mila Jovovich was on Married with Children. I think you remember when
she was in there.
Yes, and Kelly was brought her in because she was a French exchange student, and I think Mila was 14 or something. And obviously this is a Fox sitcom, and the way they made 14-year-olds dress back then, I think I was 13 or 14 at the time this came out, so it was fine. Right. But I was good, she was gorgeous, And then was she
friends with Kelly or something?
She was, but Kelly was telling her, because Mila was I don't know what to do. I don't know how to act in America. And then
what? I know what you're talking about.
Remember, and then she took her coat off, and she was hotter than Kelly, and so then Kelly was trying to find ways to get rid of her. It was
Bud has a crush on her. And shit.
And then
Bud get with her?
No, because what happened is Bud was caught trying to drill a hole into the room where she changes, and then she literally says, "No, I don't mind if you watch." And then I was oh my god! As a young kid, I was good Lord Almighty.
And didn't Al really enjoy having her around?
Yeah, because they kept giving them money for hosting her. That's why.
Okay,
they were always family. But it was a great episode. Married with Children, the classic ones, are fucking great.
Yeah, the earlier episodes are wonderful.
After Steve leaves, the show really
I love Jefferson, but yeah, it starts getting a little jump the shark eventually.
But anyway, back to this. Now he's directing Monster Hunter, which is a movie based on Capcom, which is about knights fighting giant monsters. And of course, I look at the promo images of it, and it's Mila Jovovich once again, his wife, and she's wearing cyber suits. And I'm this fucking game is not about people wearing cyber suits destroying monsters. It's about knights killing monsters. So once again, he's taking whatever hundreds of millions of dollars they gave to him, and he's just doing whatever the fuck he wants, which is
whatever.
Stupid.
Anyway, Event Horizon's good.
Yeah, Event Horizon is a great little film. I mean, it's a product of its time. It's late 90s, just the right amount of cheese, but it's not. It takes itself seriously, and it's not cheese in a way. It's cheese if you watch it in an ironic way. But every actor is actually really good in it. Every actor is totally fucking bringing their A game. They treat it with the utmost
I mean, it's
respect.
definitely like some sci-fi tropes, but like also it was probably not so tropey at the time it was made.
Right. I mean, because like seeing obviously the only thing that we only have reference was Doom, where space marines fight demons or whatever. But
I mean,
this
it made
is-
me think of Abyss and Sphere also, like the idea of finding like a long lost ship or whatever, like you know.
But it was great. You watch the part when they hang the doctor up and his guts are hanging out. Like that reminded me of the show Hannibal. Like later on, I was like, oh yeah, this is probably where they get stuff like that from too. It was just so. It's such a unique type of science fiction horror film. And maybe there are more science fiction movies that deal with hell elements and horror stuff like that, which is great. But honestly, the only other fucking thing I could think of is that Hellraiser movie, and I'm not gonna watch that shit unless we review
Those
it.
movies, man. I've only seen a few besides the first two, but like
What
they're
was
not
that other one
good.
that we reviewed? That was pretty bad.
That was the last one made, and it was so bad.
I still remember that last. What was that last line he said?
He's like,
The sweet
I am-
suffering, no, and he's like goes
Yeah,
away into space.
because he became a regular human
Shot
again. or
on a
something.
digital camera. Good gosh almighty, that was horrible. Anyway, so what rating would you give this film, Event Horizon, 1997?
I will give this an 8 out of 10.
Very good, very good. Oof.
Thank you. An 8 out of 10.
Yeah, the whole
8 out of 10. Thinking you're gonna see your son, who has all kind of cuts on his legs, and then you walk, and oopsie, I fell down a hole, and now and my back is broken, and I have blood in my mouth.
And you know they cut out that scene with the wife's butt. They were gonna show that wife totally show her ass when she dropped her robe to go kill herself.
That would have been
And
great.
Sam Neill was probably like, look at that fine white culo. Anyway. They do that in a lot of movies, man. That could piss me off. I remember seeing Brown Bunny with, what is her name? Wednesday Addams.
Oh yeah,
And she gets naked right
Christina Ricci.
right when she drops that robe. They cut to the next scene. I was like, "You bastards!" As a
yeah,
disgusting
tripping me
pervert man.
at
How dare you.
Christina Ricci's butt.
The fucking I'm sorry, Buffalo 66 is the name of the movie. That's a.
Oh, you know what? I have seen that
incredible-
movie.
That's an incredible film. Incredible film.
I
Anyway,
saw that Okay, go on.
I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. You actually stole the thing I was going to say about
The guy from that apparently is exactly like his character, though.
Oh yeah, he's a piece of garbage.
That's what I've heard. He's like a real
horrible
piece of shit.
person. He's like, I was listening to an episode of him being Vincent Gallo. He sells his sperm online too for women, but it's like $1,000 or something like that. He's a real weirdo. But if you ever listen to his interview with Howard Stern, he really does not give a fuck. You know, how, like Ricky Gervais doesn't.
He
give
just
a shit?
seems like an intense asshole, and I don't like him.
Yeah,
but
he's like an
and apparently he was very abusive to Christina Ricci during that movie.
Yeah, he's a scuffbag. It's funny up to a point. Like I think he's funny up to a point, but he's
It's
like
funny, and like if this wasn't a real person doing this to real people,
right,
it's
but
funny.
he's like
you know,
he's getting into like James Woods territory where he's like, oh, get
that
out.
guy's a real piece of shit. Holy shit.
Um.
Oh, anyways, do your rating,
So anyway,
sir.
8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Oh boy, this is terrible. You took the one that I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
8 out of 10. Being from becoming the ship's doctor to being a marionette with your guts on a table. And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Larry Fishburne.